last block we talked about how important expectations were, that they were 80% of the fuel driving your motivation. Well, if you just have a block in your mind of an expectation, well, what is it? What massages your expectation? What influences? What inspires? What you motivate? And it's how we visualize. Two things I want to talk about. One of them is there are some people out there who don't think they visualize. They think it's some special technique or something you learn. And visualizing stuff is anything that you're imagining in your head. And if you don't think you visualize, then that'll be a problem. You'll have a short circuit right there in just understanding this formula. But everybody visualizes. There's no such thing as not visualizing. And the way to kind of trick yourself into realizing, if you're one of those people that believes they don't visualize, is to just start flashing back as to what was the first car you owned, what did you do yesterday, what did you do last month, start thinking about an old birthday, an old girlfriend, an old instructor, doesn't matter. And what you'll start to do is ultimately what happens is you'll almost all the time you kind of tilt your head, you look up and to the right, you start to visualize parts of your brain. Just get with it. It doesn't have to be masterful etching, like exact perfect shit. You just need to see stuff. And what you'll understand is, and sometimes it's very fleeting in a fight, you take a quick glance, like a target glance at somebody in a bar, and sometimes you look at someone, you get an adrenaline dump right away, and it's just like a nano moment. But what that person's presence did is inspire a little bit of fear, maybe the size of them or something, the way they were looking at you. And there was a moment there where you had a bad feeling about them. Then you probably shook it off and maybe start to rationalize it or diffuse it, and that's cool. But I want you to recognize, just for self exploration and introspection, is to understand it was that moment where you visualize something, and it was always, if it created like a fear spike, it was a negative. If it generated some sort of euphoria, some sort of yeah, I want to move towards it, that's what we're looking for. Is something that's as a positive visualization that creates that expectation. Now, if you feel like you're moving towards your goal, that's motivation. So they're all intrinsically connected, and of course, where do you keep your visualizations, the things that you think about, in your mind. So the two things that we covered there is understanding that when you visualize stuff, it's not like, I mean, I've read in some books, it's a whole formula, and they talk about all these, they get too complicated. To me, it's just, you're either visualizing something positive or negative, and it can be as subtle or it can be as detailed as you want. That'll be determined by the type of individual you are. I don't get into that stuff. Just recognize that if you're visualizing something and you're getting this, I don't know about that moment, that's not going to work towards motivation. If you're going, yeah, and you're leaning into the idea, then that's moving towards motivation. And it's an introspective skill, but just work with it and you'll get it.